MC.
Yeah, definitely. But you are tuned into the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast right now. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play, and you like the content that you're listening to, one, do not forget to subscribe, and two, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating. Let us know how much you enjoy the content. Please do not leave here without doing that. This next story right here is a real dope one. 50 Cent jumped on his IG, and he was making some references to his ex-team members at GUnit. Now, 50 says, some people are not built to make it. Their habits and instincts will pull them right back to the struggle. You put them on, they fuck up the package. He also goes on to say, do you realize GUnit only did 5 shows without me in 16 years? Every time you saw them together was at my show. Now, that's a big bag. They fucked up. Then he also even went down. Somebody said Banks would have went far in the game, as trying to say that maybe it was 50 Cent's fault. And 50 Cent, clapped back and said, you don't know the boy. He is doing what he does best right now. LOL. Now, SamAnt, you brought this topic up to me in the pre-production, and it just made me think of some situations that I had in my life, and it's obviously something you had in your life. What do you think about 50 Cent, though, man? Really, I ain't gonna say putting GUnit on blast, just telling the truth about him.
This one hits home. It hits home. But let's just talk about this. First off, GUnit fans. I fuck with Banks. I fuck with Tony Yayo.
Definitely.
I fuck with Young Buck. I fucked with GUnit as a whole. I fucked when Gang was in there. I rode with all of them as MCs. I honestly think that 50 was probably the fifth best MC during the highlight of GUnit's days, as far as rapping is concerned, because they were some great lyricists. But we've seen the difference between 50 Cent's mind and their mother brother's mind, and that's no knock on them. We see this often. We see good brothers, real good brothers, who have good hearts, who have great intention, but just lack that certain discipline that it takes to just cross over that invisible fence that's just holding them back and stay consistent in crossing them over to get to where they go. It takes a certain consistency, discipline, and just level of patience, but just consistent persistence in getting to where you got to go as far as an entrepreneur, as far as being the best in the game. And we see where 50's at. Liquor, TV, clothing, trademarking, every fucking thing in the world.
Right.
He's a genius. What he does on Instagram may piss some people off, may make people laugh, but you cannot negate the fact that he's often telling the truth, and it often is something to learn from, even though he's like taking jabs and doing the 50 thing. You sit back and you listen to it, and gems are all through that shit.
Yeah, and I think, not even that it's the Jay-Z blueprint, but you mentioned how he's into this different things. He diversified his portfolio. He just didn't stay in rap and try to make that pop. He dropped into the liquor. He jumped into, property. He jumped into the shows and the movies and things like that to try to, extend it. Even Jay, and I say, it's not the Jay-Z blueprint, but Jay-Z made this shit popular. It's taking your money from hip hop and putting it into other things and making that shit pop. You know what I mean? Attaching it to clubs, liquors, whatever you have to do. And I think 50 Cent, is one guy who showed why he was the damn leader of GUnit anyway. These guys came on, at the end, not the end, but at a point, and he gave them opportunity to blow. And when he wasn't in their life no more, you seen like, all right. And it kind of is. I guess you are knocking them a little bit. Not to say you got guys still out there that's doing their things. Lloyd's doing his thing. Kid, Game has done, some great things after he left. But 50, let's look at the net worth. Look what 50 has moved to, and look where they moved to. So I think that 50 knows them best. He's been around them guys. He at a point groomed them, signed them under his label. So he knows what to expect from these guys. And this is what you see why it's a point now where these guys are split up now. They moved on to do other things. He's moved on, but almost like the Dame Dash Jay-Z thing. One goes up, one guy kind of just, evens out or even goes down. So it just is what it is, man. It's the nature of business and the nature of, having people in your circle.
You brought up Jay-Z. I want to bring up Jay-Z real quick.
Yeah.
And in the context of is 50 Cent, does he take a little bit of the blame in this? Now, I want you to go in on this question, because do them grown men deserve to take responsibility, or do they have a little bit of agreements and 50 Cent holding them back? We're not directly there. We don't know, but I think of a Jay-Z. I think of what he did for someone like Memphis Bleak. I think of what he did for somebody like Emory Jones and the people around him. Now, I don't know how close 50 Cent are to like a Young Buck, a Yayo, or things like that, even though I feel as though they were close from the outside looking in. Did 50 Cent kind of owe them? And that's a harsh word, but just to kind of.
I don't think so, because remember 50 came out, he said, look, man, he said they did 5 shows in 16 years. He said they missed the bag. So
talk about it.
Just the fact that when you got something like Rockefeller or GUnit, a name like that, you got to be able to run with that. If I was with GUnit, you was with G, you could use that name now to generate money forever. He's saying, look, they should have been doing more. They could have did more shows. They should have did this. Of course, you could still use the name. That's cool. Maybe they got to cut 50, a portion of it, but still you go out, GUnit tour, this, that, and that. But, he's pretty much saying, for my interpretation, these guys didn't work hard enough to get in the position where they could have been. I gave these dudes everything that they needed to succeed. They just didn't work hard enough. That's what it looks like 50 Cent. And then you can understand being an entrepreneur, me being an entrepreneur, when you got to hire different people and work with different people. Sometimes they're not going to meet the expectation that you set. It's just the nature of the fucking business. I don't care if you hire somebody to work at a Doritos, Water Ice, or McDonald's. You're going to go through people. You're going to get people there who are gunners, who are going to work hard. You're going to get lazy people and you're going to see why he also mentioned their habits and their instincts. You're going to see why they're in the position that they're in because of their habits, their daily habits, and their instincts, the decisions they make.
You could tell by even with how he was talking that this pissed him off too, because he didn't want to see them in a position where they weren't winning just as big as he is.
Right.
He don't seem like the type of dude that wants to hold anybody back. And we've seen people in our personal lives get very comfortable in certain situations, and that comfortability turned into stagnation. And then they were looking around like, where do I go? Where do I go? What do I do next? Because I don't know what to do without this or what to do without that. And it's like they almost lost yourself, and it just drives you crazy because it's just as simple as going, today I'm going to do what I want to do and what I'm good at once a day and get better and get better and get better. What am I weak at? All right, I want to be a musician. All right, but I understand that this is 40% talent, 30% talent, 70% business.
Yeah.
I got the talent down to a T. I got my songs down. I recorded correctly. I got it mixed. I got it mastered. That's down. Now I got to understand the business. Am I going to sign to a label and have them take the majority of my bread, or am I going to go through the independent route and do my thing? Okay, I know in order to be independent, I got to go and grab certain promotional packages and marketing because I got to get my shit out to the masses.
Right.
You have people that will sit back and understand everything that they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
I won't do it.
And give you the one most bullshit excuse on why it can't be done. And they will give you this excuse over and over and over again. And what social media does is it gives you this false sense of reality, because then these motherfuckers will jump on social media and paint a picture like everything is okay. And they're illiterate and clueless to the very thing that they love the fucking most.
Yeah.
It's aggravating to someone who sat on the same track as them, on the same race as them, dealing with the same obstacles as them, that wanted to see them out just like they made it. And for some reason, that invisible fence is holding.
Is there any way where you could blame, somebody who was like the exec or the leader of the label? Like a lot of people would blame Diddy or Birdman. Is there any way that you could? Now, personally, I would say, from the onset, just giving my answer, you can't blame anybody from holding you back. But could there be a situation that you could see where maybe not 50, but another, label owner like a Birdman or something could hold artists back? How could that happen?
Here's what I say, man. You got to be, we have a responsibility in particular as black men to be our brother's keeper. And here's why. We can't enable our brother. Can't do that.
Right.
But if we find some level of success, I think it's our obligation to the closest one near us to drop gems as they were passed to us.
Right.
We can go and we're going to tell our story. Gems were passed down and we did our best to pass gems. You passed gems to me.
Right.
Passed gems to you throughout our lifetime. Both vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be, if you sit in a position like, all right, a Birdman, if he didn't school Wayne on what to do and how to do it, then yeah, he's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But if Wayne don't have his paperwork correct and Wayne's is going off of trust and all that stuff, as harsh as it is and as fucked up as it is morally, you're not in the morale game. We talked about this. I forgot what conversation we had. Somebody would get ripped off of their music and people took slack at me because I said they're not in that game. They're not in the emotional business. They're in the music business. They got to understand.
You
got to put your big boy pants on and know that. And I heard Nipsey say this. It resonated with me. He said he was out. You think that motherfuckers out there in the street are going to play with their money in the drug game? Nah, they're going to do everything that they got to do to manipulate, to connive, do everything that they have to do to make sure their money comes back tenfold, even if that's to screw you over. It's 80 times worse in the music game.
Yeah,
it's 80 times worse anywhere else. So you just gotta put your big boy pants on, understand the game that you're in. And if you're naive, all right, you might have to fall down once to get back up. But if you're naive more than once, that's just on you.
And that's why I say, well, like, there's no excuse for somebody who's connected to a brand like a Rockefeller. If you either you that dude or you ain't. It just is what it is. Like, you got some people who have went through these different labels and were attached to things, who went on to do some major things. You got somebody who ended right back up. Some of them that ended right back up in poverty. At the end of the day, you have to look at yourself. Even though there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be people making decisions that can affect your life. You can't let it ultimately affect your destination.
Can't.
Yeah.
And stop getting the excuse doesn't matter, because no one's looking for it. No one cares.
I don't care.
So you can't care. You got to keep it moving.
Yeah, that was definitely.
It's only one.